You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of truth. A dimension of freedom. A dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the Capitalist Corner.
Where reason meets reality, welcome to the Capitalist Corner.
Welcome to the Capitalist Corner, everybody. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz, and you can't have your phone do that.
It's off.
Anyways, we have Persephone with us today. The, of course, always wonderful Persephone. And we've got some housekeeping stuff that she's going to tell you about. We've got a lot of great topics for today. Please remember to like, share, subscribe. Share from YouTube if you can. That'd be great. We also would love your comments. And on top of that, we really appreciate the super chats and the super stickers. Okay, Persephone, tell them all the fun stuff.
All of the fun stuff. So please go and follow the Capitalist Corner on Twitch. At the beginning of next month, we'll be doing a giveaway to one of the Twitch followers for a free piece of merch from the merch site. Please go and do that. Please also go and find the Capitalist Corner, Everyday Ethics and Crime Corrections and Culture on Spotify. All three shows are now on Spotify. And if anybody's paying attention to the channel, you might have noticed that we now have YouTube memberships. So for anybody who is subscribed to the Patreon, we'll be moving away from Patreon and we'll be hosting the live discussions on YouTube instead. So we've got 3 tiers of memberships, pretty similar to what's already on Patreon, but check that out. And that's it.
Ian Gilmore wants to know which show is getting the most traction. That is hard to tell because because the channel has all the subscribers go to the channel, and the other 2 shows are just starting, so they're growing. They don't quite have, obviously, the viewership of the other, but we are hoping to change that. We're going to be promoting things. We've got a lot of good stuff coming in the future, including what Persephone forgot to tell you, which is this Saturday, I don't know what time yet, we're going to be doing a special edition of this show dealing with objections to the concept of individual rights. So, yeah, we've got a lot of good stuff coming up here. Persephone, is your dog still barking? All right, Persephone, come back. Okay, so what time are we going to be doing this this week?
On Saturday?
Saturday.
Probably at the same time as this. So 12
Okay, so
o'clock?
normally Mark and I do Self-Made Soul at that time, but this week I don't think we're doing it, so that will work. But it probably
Isn't Self-Made Soul on hold until Mark gets back from Europe?
Yes, that's why I said. Did you see? Normally we do it at that time, but this week it's okay. Anyways,
yeah.
So today is the annual colonoscopy day, otherwise known as Tax Day here in America, April 15th. So, it's apropos to that. There's, look at this, $2 from Jenna Kleem. Jenna Kleem is absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Jenna. I believe that's a cookie of some sort, although I'm trying to stay away from the cookies because I want to be healthy. I struggle with the food that I eat. Either way, I'm only 175 pounds. It's not like I'm a fat person, but I'd like to. What? Why is that funny?
It was just funny. I'm not a fat guy.
Well, I'm not, but I would like to get the cholesterol down, whatever. So, there's a good article in Reason Magazine today. 60% of Americans agree taxes are too high. If 60% of Americans agree taxes are too high, then why are taxes too high? That doesn't make much sense to me. Unless you figure that they think their taxes are too high, but the other guy is not paying enough, which is probably the case. My girlfriend is in the chat to tell me that I'm chubby. She says I am a chub. That's okay. It's okay. I prefer big boned in the belly area, but whatever. What was I going to say? Okay, so she also, the author's article, Megan O'Rourke, gives 4 other reasons why we should hate taxes. And aside from them being theft, of course, and extortionary robbery, or however else you want to put it, filing taxes. Now, I just went through this for the first time, by the way, and I got to tell you, it was not fun. I did not like it. I don't like. First of all, I don't like giving my money away. That's the first thing. But also, it was just a pain in the ass. I got to go here. I got to tell them this and that and all that bullshit, and I don't like it. But she says, the filing taxes cost significant resources, both in terms of time and money. And that's true. You can hire somebody to do it for you, in which case you're paying, or you do what I did and you go down to the library and they had someone there to do it for me. But that's still the time it took me to look up, to find a place, to go down there, to gather my information. That's all time that could be spent doing better things with my time, more productive. Part 2, what counts as income may surprise you. I'm not going to go through this ridiculous list, but basically anytime you do anything where you retrieve a nickel of some sort, the IRS will be going to give you the colonoscopy to search for this nickel just in case you're hiding it somewhere. So, you sell a cup, they want in. It's like, there's this movie I used to watch I watched it maybe once or twice, King of New York, and the guy says, a nickel bag is sold in the park, I want in. That guy was a drug dealer who they'd put in prison, but when you're the IRS, they call it, well, you're paying the price for civilization, as Robert Nacer quotes the Justice Holmes on. Taxes are wielded as tools of social engineering. Of course they are, as things like liquor and cigarettes are taxed heavily, and they will tax you to try to guide your behavior to their preferred outcomes. Now, the idea that this group is going to tell me what a preferred behavior is laughable. And then the system hides government spending because of tax withholding. People generally don't even know how much is coming out of their pay. It's done every week or every 2 weeks, whatever your employer's keeping your money. All of these are reasons to hate taxes, but the main reason, as I said, is it's an organization that is robbing you blind. Persephone, what say you on the subject?
American taxes are stupid. That's...
Okay, you come here for the great insight and analysis that you will only find on the Capitalist Corner, and Persephone has put it out there for everybody. They're stupid. What did you say? What else? You said ridiculous and stupid. I've already forgotten.
So taxes work differently in America than they do here. Yeah. So for me, hearing about the American tax system, I'm always just like, wow, your government is actively trying to screw you over. I mean, taxes suck everywhere, of course, but it feels like extra pointedly bad in America.
It is. Okay, I don't know because I'm not in South Africa, but something tells me that I would prefer it here than seeing baboons running up and down the highway. That's just me. Okay. You can't, look, I hate the government. I don't like the taxes, but you're taking a shot at America, and I'm going to take a shot at the baboons.
The baboons would take a shot at you too.
They would. They're very vicious things. Their teeth are huge, and I don't like seeing their backsides at all. That's not something for me. Perhaps the IRS would enjoy the colonoscopy on the baboons. Okay. What's next here? Oh, okay. So the Morning Dispatch cites David Barnea. He's the head of the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, and he said in a Tuesday speech that his country would continue trying to overthrow the Iranian regime. Quote, "Our obligation will be discharged only after this extremist regime is replaced. This regime, which seeks our destruction, must pass from the world." And I got to say, that makes perfect sense from an Israeli perspective. Here's the problem. First of all, they've said it's not a regime change war, but they've also said the regime has already changed. So that sort of contradicts what the Israelis are saying, that they're going to continue to try to change the regime if it's already changed. But also Trump is touting that we're going to be having more negotiations with Iran, and we're going to be negotiating with the regime. I doubt that regime is going to agree to go away. That's not going to take place. So you've got it's some serious conflicts here between, it seems, the United States and our ally Israel. Israel says they're going to keep that the regime has to go. Trump, on one hand, says they've already gone, and on another hand, is going to negotiate with the people that Israel calls the regime. So, what is correct here? I tend to agree with Israel that regime should go. But I also don't like the idea of an ally, when we are the overwhelming power in the scenario, countermanding what we're saying the goals are. But maybe we're contradicting them. I don't know what the hell Trump tells these people, which is all part of the problem of having a guy like Trump running the show, all part of the problem of having unconstitutional wars declared. You end up with a big fucking Jesus, I can't stop. I gotta stop the swearing. A big problem. So Robert Naser with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Robert. He says he could live with a flat tax. In the U.S., liberty-minded people will sometimes suggest simplified tax laws in which a return would fit on a postcard. I would support that. Hello, Daniel. I would support anything that takes us in the direction of more freedom. So anything that's going to result in less taxes, less spending, I would agree with. But I would never, personally, I will never grant the state the right to tax. So my goal, ultimately, whether it be tomorrow or in 100 years, would be to abolish all taxation. I think it's all based on compulsion. I think there's other ways that you could fund the government. But I would support a flat tax as an alternative to what we have now, as long as it was understood that it's a movement towards liberty. Robert Naser with another $5, helping to let me make up what I've just spent on taxes. He says, make the system simple enough. Pay as you go, and you eliminate returns altogether for 98% of us. Cool. I could live with that. Thank you very much, Robert. So I earlier said that from Israel's perspective, this regime has to go. So let's just go over some things. Pre-1979, there was cooperation between Israel and the Iranian government. With the 1979 Iranian Revolution, however, the Islamic Revolution, Iran became hostile to Israel. They cut ties and adopted an explicitly anti-Zionist stance. They funded Hezbollah. They funded Hamas. I mean, they continue to do so, of course. They've had shooting wars with Israel. I read these proxies. I mean, in 2023, 2024, of course, Israel suffered at the hands of Hamas a brutal, despicable attack. And now they've got the direct war with them. And, of course, Iran denies Israel's right to exist. So when you have a regime that's doing that and saying those things, and they're right, in your neighborhood, you can't have them. So, Israel could be very grateful and say, well, the regime's already gone, as Trump has said. Mark just sent me a movie of himself here doing something. So I don't know. I can't watch it, of course, because I'm doing a show. Mark knows I'm doing a show. Maybe he could have waited until the show was over to send me a text that was going to interfere with my ability to look at my phone. But either way, now Mark is back here. Okay. Either way, from Israel's perspective, I say, yes, they have to go, which begs the question, why would the United States be negotiating? What is negotiable there? But, that's the problem that people have to answer. I don't want to be a dick, but if you supported the war under the auspices of Donald Trump, if you supported an unconstitutional war, these are questions that you have to answer. I don't see any way around it that you should address the issue. The war was unconstitutional, which means it should never have happened to begin with. The character of a man who would launch such a war, just on that, is obvious to me that he shouldn't be doing stuff. But then the war comes, and his character and incompetence, of course, are front and center and very, very relevant. So if you indeed support Israel, the fact that you have a president of the United States who is going against the stated purposes, wishes of Israel, coming up with multiple justification and objectives to the war, you need to explain something. You should explain how you could continue to back it, what you think about it, et cetera, et cetera. Robert Naser says for $5 super chat, I don't expect free stuff, and yes, I'd rather freely subscribe to private roads, firefighting service, etc. Either way, less would be better. I agree. And a $2 super chat from Robert Naser says, also the Beatles are greater than the Rolling Stones. Not a big fan of either, to be perfectly honest. I'm a fan of Pink Floyd, even though Roger Waters is a wanker.
There's also he also has another one, which just came through.
Huh? Oh, geez. Robert Naser, making me rich. One super chat at a time, $5. See, these are the kind of distractions you get with free speech and free markets. Scandalous. Government must help. Somebody save me from myself. Lee Frazier's man, it appears, has left her. I don't know. But either way, Persephone, what does it sound like to you, from your perspective as a foreigner, when you see you have two allies in a war that have seemingly contradictory objectives?
Oh, I have so many thoughts. So I think a lot of people went in and started support, a lot of people expressed support for the war because they had an idea of what the war was for. People that I spoke to, most of them were under the impression that this was going to be a war for regime change. That was the goal. And I don't think that there was over much evidence for that, apart from a couple of tweets. And then the goalposts started shifting, but also so many people went so hard on the support that it was almost like they couldn't pull back and say, actually, we were wrong, because they were still holding out hope that there was going to be regime change. And now there's so much conflicting information, and Trump is changing his story every 5 minutes. And I don't think, cares really about regime change. Obviously, Israel does. Trump cares about whatever's going to make him look good. And whether that's going to be good for Israel or Iran or America is, I don't think, a consideration for him. He cares about what's going to work for him. And I don't think it's going to be good for anybody.
I am inclined to agree with you. Is it wrong that I texted Mark and told him share the show on X, and I overrode his silenced notifications? I think that's.
I think that's fair.
I think so too.
It's something that he knows he has to do every day.
So for the first time in a long time, Israel is actually negotiating with Lebanon. It says from the Dispatch, Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors to the U.S. met in Washington on Tuesday in a meeting hosted by Secretary of State Marco Rubio to discuss the conflict between Israel and the Lebanese terror group Hezbollah. Envoys from both countries described the meeting as productive, but said it produced no immediate results. Lebanese ambassador to the U.S., Nada Hamada Mawad, said she called for a ceasefire and demanded the full sovereignty of the state over all Lebanese land. Yechiel Leiter stated that both sides agreed to work for a clearly delineated border between our countries and that he expected talks to continue in the coming weeks. So that, there's it's the first major high-level talk since 1993. So in Lebanon, it has a lot of religious diversity. Gee willikers. 60% is Muslim, but that's roughly split between Sunnis and Shias. 32% is Christian. I believe the prime minister is Christian, and their leadership in the country is defined by the 1943 National Pact, which was updated in 1990, and it mandates a 50-50 sectarian split in parliament between Christians and Muslims. The prime minister is a Sunni Muslim. The president is a Christian, and the speaker of parliament is Shia. The problem is that the predominant military wing, the strongest part of the military, is Hezbollah, and Hezbollah. They were the one group at the closing of the Civil War that was allowed to keep their weapons. So just to give you a quick, and this, this is why another reason why Israel needs to combat Iran, because Iran, of course, funds Hezbollah. Hezbollah is Arabic for the Party of God. It's a Shia Muslim political party and militant group, and it's considered the most powerful non-state armed group in the Middle East. It emerged during the Lebanese War between 75 and 90, and it was a direct response to the 1982 Israel invasion of Lebanon, which was it was founded in 1982 to 85 in the midst of the Lebanese Civil War, which lasted from 75 to 90. Israel invaded Lebanon in 1982 because it wanted to expel Palestinian guerrilla fighters. Yeah, that was also, Lebanon was the home base for the PLO. So, Hezbollah was founded in response to that, funded by Iran, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps providing training and funds for them. They announced the group was officially announced in 85. They adopted a radical ideology dedicated to fighting Israel, opposing Western influence in the Middle East, and establishing an Islamic state in Lebanon. They engage in suicide bombings, including attacks on U.S. and French barracks in Beirut and the kidnapping of Westerners. I don't see how. I mean, that's the problem here is. And again, I say this as a novice. I'm not an expert. I'm just telling you what it looks like to me. This is my perspective as a novice, that Israel cannot live with an armed Hezbollah, and they cannot live with Hamas. And just so you know, Hamas, by the way, said, now remember Trump and his peace organization in the Middle East, and there's going to be peace, and we're going to have a great Gaza, and Hamas is going to disarm. A senior Palestinian official told the BBC, this is according to the Morning Dispatch, on Tuesday that the Gaza-based terrorist group Hamas had rejected a disarmament plan proposed by the U.S.-led Board of Peace top Gaza representative. So it just seems as if Israel needs to have no Hamas, no Hezbollah, no Iranian regime, and that's Israel's interest. And Israel's an ally, so the case could be made that we should be helping them in some way. The extent of that help, I don't think the U.S. should be militarily involved in Israel's fights. I'm also opposed to compulsory foreign aid. But nevertheless, Israel can't have this. Israel is an ally. Israel is in this with the United States. And it just seems like Donald Trump is acting not in Israel's interest. It doesn't even seem to me like he's acting in America's interest. Anyways, we have from Gary Menard a super chat. Changing one's mind constantly is a heroic flaw. I think that is a shot from Gary Menard at a friend of mine, but we won't get too much into that. Because Trump doesn't just, I don't know if he actually changes his mind, or who the hell knows. You just don't know. Go ahead, Persephone. You seem to have something you'd like to say.
Did anybody really think that a terrorist organization was going to willingly disarm and willingly back down?
I don't know. I think Trump may believe that because I think, as we're going to see, I think he's got some serious narcissistic qualities. So he thought, I believe, that he could accomplish this.
That he could, I mean, it just, to me, seems really odd to think that you can negotiate with terrorists. I mean, maybe you can try, but I mean, to expect them to behave in like a fair way just seems short-sighted. And to expect them to deal fairly, it just seems like it was never going to happen.
Yes, I think you are correct.
So I don't see the point other than like to put on a show. Like, oh yeah, we're negotiating with them. I'm sure that they'll agree to just roll over and show us their bellies. Of course.
What do you think of my new shirt?
I don't like it. I'm gonna be honest.
You
I'm
don't
not
like white. That's the thing.
No, I
You're
don't.
a very
But
dark person.
how could you tell? I'm not a fan of the collar. I'm not a big fan of like golf shirts. I don't think golf shirts are cool.
Gary Menard said it's a shot at a ridiculous argument, not the otherwise good man behind it. Thank you, Gary Menard. Gary Menard is also a good man. So
Yeah, Lee thinks you look beautiful.
Thank you very much. Persephone, I think part of it is, her husband is watching and maybe she just wants to not come off as too pro Liebowitz. That's a big possibility. We always have to keep that in mind. Anyways, so there's an article today in Reason Magazine by Jacob Sullum. And he asked the question, if Trump were senile, how would we ever know it, given his actions? And he says, the article is called Trump's Reaction to the Jesus Flap Compounds Concerns About His Mental Acuity. I don't know if he's just a narcissist, if he's actually got mental deficiency, and it is very difficult to tell at times. Of course, the recent picture they put on him as if he were Jesus healing people, he subsequently said that he thought it was him as a doctor, which, I mean, is he lying? Or
Yes.
is he just dumb? It's hard to tell, and I think that's Jacob Sullum's point. And Jacob Sullum says this, that he's been very critical of attempts at challenging Trump's character flaws as a mental illness. And I don't really cotton to the idea of mental illness strongly. It's not a big thing to me. So when I talk about Trump, having narcissistic personality characteristics, I mean, if you look at his behavior and juxtapose them with the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder, there's a lot of similarities, similarly with antisocial personality disorder. But again, I don't know him personally. I'm not around him personally. I'm going by his public behavior. But Jacob Sullivan says to figure out whether he is in cognitive decline, we have to properly address his impulsiveness, grandiosity, meandering speaking style, and defiance of reality he's displayed throughout his political career. But Jacob Sullivan also says that several recent episodes should give pause to Trump supporters. And he says, Trump, the argument that he had about Garcia with the MS-13, Trump claimed that he had a tattoo on his fingers, but it was actually AI-generated superimposition onto his fingers, MS-13. The claim was that that's what the symbols meant. But Trump kept insisting that, no, that's the real tattoo. And then he doubled down. Now on this, this latest AI-generated photo of Trump as Jesus, Trump said that this is from a very beautiful, talented artist. Of course, it's AI-generated. He recently went on a tirade against Pope Leo. He called weak on crime, terrible for foreign policy. I mean, the guy's a pope. I'm anti-pope, that sort of thing, faith off the muscle. But to say he's soft on crime, I think is, ridiculous. So, these are strange things. Of course, he talks about, during a Medal of Honor ceremony, he went on about the White House drapes. In a cabinet meeting, he talked about Sharpies. He misidentified Azerbaijan as Cambodia. He's confused Greenland with Iceland. And he claimed that Rob Reiner was killed due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with Trump derangement syndrome. So, I mean, look, you just don't know. The guy's certainly got some screws loose. I mean, I think that's obvious. Mr. Deagle says, I think that in a few years after Trump is gone, everybody who supported him now will try to rewrite the past and say that they never really supported him. That's possible. Persephone, speaking of Mr. Deagle, did you get him the stuff you were supposed to get him? Did you post it?
No, I'll do it today. Stop calling me out live.
Well, Mr. Deagle's here, and, when would you like me to do it? Okay, anyways, so he's going to send you his email, Persephone. That makes it easy.
So the one thing that I liked in this article was that if Biden had the exact same behaviors, the Republicans would definitely be like raving about, how he's senile. But they can't either they can't recognize it in Trump, or they do, and they're like, well, he's crazy in the right direction. He's crazy in the direction that we want, kind of. But also,
Gary Menard for $1.99 says Dr. Jesus was tough on crime. I think he means to say, don't you know that? Yes. The flip side of that, though, Persephone, is all the Democrats who were quick to call out Trump's problems were silent on Biden's.
With Biden, yeah.
And that is ultimately the problem, is it's tribalism, not truth, that they're concerned with. But there were a couple other things. So George Conway.
I was just contemplating the fact that one moron, one psychotic moron, one capricious idiot has completely bollocksed up the global economy to the detriment of his own people, but the detriment of the planet. Think about that. Everything from these tariffs, which have to be done and undone, and we end up with the crucial things that we can't buy, and that the Chinese want to punish us for the heavy metals, and this. It's like, how much more of this can the planet take? How much more?
I mean, I think he's kind of got a point, and that's exemplified by this.
Justice Ginsburg. She was not exactly a young woman. The election was taken. They had a Democrat who could have appointed a liberal justice, and the liberals do stick together. There's one thing about those justices. They stick together like glue, not like the Republicans. But she decided that she was going to live forever, and about 2 minutes after the election, she went out, and I got to appoint somebody. So, you make the case that at a certain time, you give it up so that you can have a justice. The average is like 40 years. It's a long time. So that your ideology, your policies, your everything would be of the kind that we like. But it's probably not easy to give up for people, They reach a certain age. Ginsburg could not do it. And she really hurt herself within the Democrat Party. People are very angry at her because I got to appoint people instead of Biden.
Okay, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died in 2020. So it wasn't briefly after Trump took office. Also, it wasn't in the cards for Biden to appoint somebody to replace her because Trump did it. It would have, even if she had resigned, it would have been Obama. But if that's your guy, that's your guy. And I was curious about the history of leaders who have had mental problems. So we've got Caligula, Charles VI of France, Henry VI of England, Rudolph II, the Holy Roman Emperor, Christian VII of Denmark, King Ludwig II of Bavaria, Kaiser Wilhelm II, Germany, Woodrow Wilson, President of the United States, has a stroke, can't do his duties, no, and they don't get rid of him. They have his wife and his physician carry out the executive functions of the government for the next 17 months. Hindenburg, by 1932-33, was suffering obvious senile dementia. His failing judgment was systematically exploited by Franz von Papen and others to maneuver Hitler into the chancellorship in January 1933, a clear case where a leader's cognitive decline had catastrophic consequences. The point here is that this stuff is serious. It's not, I mean, we could listen to some of the things that Trump says at times and we laugh. I mean, I do anyway, because it's so goddamn ridiculous. But ultimately, he is a very, very powerful man, and his decisions matter. People are dying as a result of the decisions he's making, and we don't know, if those are going to ultimately result in anything good. And as Mr. Deagle points out, Joe Biden was clearly mentally deficient, and Democrats didn't do anything about it. That does not justify the Republicans not doing anything about their own problem here.
No, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to go, well, the other side did it, so we should be able to. We're going to keep our guy in power even though he's not fit for the position. We're going to keep him in power because we don't want to risk the other side getting the power that we have, because we're doing our best to fuck the other side over, and we know if the other side gets in power, they're going to do their best to fuck us. And that mentality has just, it's led to so many problems and will continue to lead to even more problems, because given everything that Trump has done and everything that the Republican Party has done, and how they seem to be quite gleeful in exerting their power over the other people, when the Democrats get into power again, when the pendulum swings, it's going to be just as bad, but in a completely different way. And again, not good for the country.
No, not good for the country. I got this thumbnail from the great Race Jacobson. Thank you very much, Race. You wonderful, wonderful person, you. Still no share from Mark Pellegrino. We are going to really, really ride him when he comes back.
You're going to ride Mark Pellegrino?
I am, yes. Yes. Proudly.
Someone needs to make fan art of that.
So there's an article in Axios about women members of MAGA, and it highlights Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Barry Weiss. Evidently, Candace Owens has had the fastest growing right-wing podcast for the past 2 quarters. Megyn Kelly's podcast entered the top 20 shows in the U.S. last year. And Barry Weiss is now the head of CBS. But in my view, I don't like, conservatism was supposed to be about prudence, about slow to change things, cautiousness. These people are just cranks. I mean, they're really, Megyn Kelly has done, gone at various places and various issues. They're obviously just catering to an audience, right? That's what they're trying to do. What I find fascinating, Persephone, isn't so much that there's people who would be willing to lie for money. It's how many people are so eager to believe it, especially given the evidence that it's lying. It's not as if you have a wacky person like Alex Jones, who's just been wacky. He's nuts, clearly. Constant with the conspiracy bullshit, whatever. But Candace Owens previously took many, many different stances, as did Megyn Kelly, and they adjust themselves to cater to an audience. I personally don't like the idea of being a dupe, of having somebody manipulate me, lie to me, get me to give them money, con me. But there seems to be, in the era of Trump, it seems more to me now. Maybe it's just more salient to me because I have access to the internet. But it seems a very, very, it's very much more common now, it seems to me.
I don't know if it is more common or if it's just that more people have access to broader reach, right? Because even like 15 years ago, it was more difficult to get a big audience because there weren't as many social platforms. There wasn't as much of a way to get up on your soapbox. And what people like Candace Owens have done is they switch up and they see what gets them the most traction until they achieve a sort of snowball effect. And at that point, it doesn't matter if they change up their views because they'll attract new people, and the people who notice that she's an absolute crackpot, they'll talk shit about her, but she gains enough new fans and new followers based on her like ridiculous Erica Kirk killed Charlie whatever. She gets enough new followers that they'll hop to defend her. So it doesn't matter. She'll keep like pulling in the money. It's gross, but that's the thing. They make money off of this, and even things that you wouldn't think make money. Even on Twitter, just like clicking on someone's tweet and responding to it. If they've like monetized their channel, they can make money off of that. All of these scam sites that post stupid links, they get money for traffic. They don't give a fuck what they're saying. They don't care that they're spreading misinformation. All they care about is the revenue.
That is true. So Mr. Deagle makes a point here. They see themselves as the smartest people who see what's actually going on and who are the people behind everything. I've been through this so many times in prison with these conspiracy theories, whether it be the Freemasons, the Trilateral Commission, the Illuminati, whatever it is, the sovereign citizen stuff. And there truly is this dynamic where people want to believe that they have the inside track. They know what's going on. They're the smart people. And everybody around them's dupes. And they will sit around and preach like they're religious fanatics. And I knew a guy who was doing a 60-year sentence. Let's call him George because that's his name. And he bought into this sovereign citizen stuff. And what this is basically is that you reclaim your name and you are sovereign and the state doesn't have legitimate authority over you. It's illustrated in things like the fact that your name's in all capitals in their documents. So that's your straw man. It's not real. The lack of an enacting clause on bills that tells you that, these laws aren't actually legal. The yellow fringed flag in a courtroom. The fact that they announce at the beginning of a court we're going to be conducting business. They tie in the international, not the international. What the hell is it? The ICC, whatever the hell that stands for. I can't think of it right now. I'm having a brain lapse. But the Interstate Commerce Commission. Am I right, Persephone? Oh, I thought you looked it up and you nodded.
I did, but I just typed it in and I got International Cricket Council, but I don't think that's what you're talking about.
No, it's not. But anyway, so this guy, he would buy books, and I looked into it at first. I mean, I wanted to get out of prison. Someone was telling me here's a way, so I checked it out, and I quickly saw it was bullshit. And I told them, dude, this is nonsense. Like the fundamental flaw in it, more than, to me, anything, more than all the evidence, all the facts, you're talking about an organization that's so powerful that they've manipulated millions upon millions of people. They control the courts, the police, the military. They've created this giant fabrication. And you're just going to go into the court and say, aha, I figured it out. And they're going to say, oh, you got us. We're going to let you go. I mean, that was just so ridiculous to me. But yet he bought it and he kept doing it. And he had stacks of books on his bunk, to the ceiling. And it was always, okay, when are you going to use this to get out of prison, dude? I guess got to get one more book. I got to figure out this one more angle. So he never actually had to try it. He's still in prison now. And that's all there is to it. But people still believe this stuff. And they will always tell you they know guys that have done it and it's working. This guy in particular, for instance, went into a court of law for his custody or child support. And he started rambling on about this stuff in court. And finally, they just said, just get out of here. We don't care. And he took it as they were saying it was a win. I took it as them saying, look, this is a guy doing 60 years who is never going to be able to pay child support anyway. Why are we wasting our time listening to this nut in court? But he took it as a win, yet he's still in prison. But yes, Mr. Deagle, I think that you are correct. It's interesting. Mr. Deagle says somebody described conspiracism as the primacy of consciousness because they don't believe natural explanations. They believe that there always must be some person or group of people behind everything. Well, I think it's correct that, like you're just denying that anything could ever happen. I know a guy who laughed at a friend of mine because he believed that Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash. Oh, you believe that? And it's what
would the point be in lying about that?
I don't know, but the assumption is that people, even if you have conspiracies, do people never die in helicopter crashes? I mean, can nothing ever be as it seems? I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Deagle, because we're going to get Persephone wound up here. I believe that the person that put out the video that talked about that was Charles II. Am I correct, Mr. Deagle? And are you a fan of Charles II, Mr. Deagle? Because Persephone is not, although she may have a bit of a crush on him, I'm not sure. Okay, I like the Friends reference. I do have a question. Go ahead. No, you go first.
Yeah, wait. So on conspiracy theories and on the Freemasons thing, a lot of members of my family are Freemasons. The Freemasons are doing jack. Like,
that's what they want you to think.
Well, no.
They're not going to tell you.
They have their things, but they're not fucking controlling the world, right?
Well, yeah, of course. They've convinced you.
Yes, they've convinced me.
You see, the problem is, and this is the thing, there's nothing you can say to win these arguments because they're not based on evidence. It is, in some senses, primacy of consciousness.
So on conspiracy theories and on the people that promote this like nuts information, right? It can be a couple of things. It doesn't matter what the root cause is, but for a lot of conspiracy theory people, what it is they're like, I can't explain this, therefore, or I can't intrinsically understand this, therefore it's not real. I can't intrinsically understand how we got into space, therefore it's a lie. It doesn't matter that like getting a rocket into space is probably easier than getting the world's governments to agree on a decades-long conspiracy theory. Like, governments can't hide anything and they can't agree on anything. And you're seriously telling me that you think that getting Russia and America to agree on a lie is more difficult than is easier than getting a rocket into space? Pull the other one. So either they're so stupid that they think that if they can't intrinsically understand it, it's not real, or they're lying. But there's no way for you to know, because maybe they're lying for the clicks, maybe they're lying for the revenue, maybe they are just fucking morons. But at the end of the day, what does it matter? Just don't listen to them.
Well, the problem is they have influence.
Yes, but you can't.
I can't?
No, we don't.
Okay.
We don't can't. Mr. Deagle, not a big fan of Charles, but he has some good explanations of philosophy. You see, I can't ever trust anything that man says, just because if you are so blindingly wrong on something very basic, I actually don't trust any of your explanations. If you tell me that you think the moon is made of cheese, I'm never going to trust anything that you say about science. You know, if you tell me that the moon is a hologram, I'm never going to trust you. So for him to say, well, what's the point of women? I'm never going to trust
Well, that's
anything that
true,
he
but
says.
arguments stand for themselves. I mean, if he's making a philosophical argument and it's based on facts that you already know, I mean, he can still make a good argument.
Yeah, he can still make a good argument, but it's going to be a lot more difficult for me to trust anything that he says because he's been so confidently wrong.
All right. What do you think about Q-tips?
I like them.
So do I. I think it's hilarious that like it's on the Q-tip box, do not insert into the ear canal. And doctors tell you, everyone, like, what are you buying a Q-tip for if you're not inserting it into the ear canal?
Well, I mean, you can use the Q-tip like on the outside of your ear, like on the
That's
like
so
the little
stupid.
on the little ridges and stuff.
That's so
But yeah,
dumb.
it is really bad to use Q-tips.
I don't care.
For me, like I have to be very careful because I don't really like my one eardrum is completely fucked. So I have to be extra super careful.
Who did that to your eardrum?
Genetics.
All right. Okay, so you're going to be responsible for today's question, but yesterday's question was, who would you like to see us have on the show? Teresa says, it'd be interesting to listen to guests who are business owners in your area, find out how they're affected by things like regulations, tariffs, Mondani's policies. I like that one. Lee Frazier should be a guest from Lee Frazier. Akira Felix says Nikos would make a good guest. I agree.
Yes.
I don't know if he's recommending this guy. I don't know. A guest, someone amusing from Jenna Clean. So that's that. My capitalist thought of the day. Given that it's tax day, I'm just going to put this as easy as I can, as simply as I can, and I'm by no means the first person to state it. If somebody takes your money without your permission, it is theft, period. I don't care if the government does it. I don't care if Persephone does it, if the local gang does it. Whoever does it is stealing from you. I think that any argument that talks about taxes and wants to reduce them needs to understand what they are. And you can't argue for fairness in something that is completely unjust. Once you cede the right of them to take your money, your arguments are necessarily limited. It doesn't mean arguing right now for the abolition of all taxes. I think that would be extremely destructive. But it means recognizing what they are, arguing consistently, and trying our damnedest to get rid of it and to move towards a free society. And with that, the lovely Persephone can ask a question.
Okay, I'm going to ask a bit of a negative question. What is the thing that scares and or upsets you most about the state of the world right now? Or the state of America? Choose one. What is the
Awesome.
thing that scares you most?
Please go to YouTube and answer the question. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the super stickers. Please tune in to 2:30 today on Everyday Ethics, where we will be addressing some common objections to the objectivist ethics. And don't forget crime, corrections, and culture today at 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time, where we expose the truth and nothing but the truth about the corrections system. And of course, we'll be back here tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Time with Jim Valiant to discuss his recent article on immigration. For now, remember, always check your premises. Peace.